Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Health and Safety Matters podcast. My name's Mark Sennett. I'm the CEO of Wrexham Business Media, which is the publisher of Health and Safety Matters magazine. Delighted you could join us for this edition, and we're also thrilled to have this podcast sponsored by the Health and Safety event, which, if you don't know, takes place at the NEC in Birmingham on the 7th to the 9th of September in just a few weeks' time. And if you register up to attend the event, which you can do so at www.healthandsafetyevent.com, your pass actually gives you free access to more than just the health and safety event. It also gives you free access to a number of co-located shows, including the fire safety event, the facilities event, the security event, National Cyber Security Show, and now, for the first time, the Emergency Services Show. So it's completely free to attend. There's over 300 hours of CPD across all of the exhibitions and conference theatres there. There's going to be 900 exhibitors across this whole series of shows. So well worth attending. All you need to do is go to www.healthandsafetyevent.com to secure your free pass. So as always, we start with the news. And the first story I want to go over this week is some news from the BSI. So BSI, in its role as the UK national standards body, has published new competency criteria following 2 rounds of public consultations. The standard supports industry reform and intends to minimise safety risks and improve protection to consumers and occupants, including residents, in and about buildings. The new code of practice, which is named BSI Flex 8670 version 3.0, easy for me to say, built environment, core criteria for the Building Safety and Competency Framework Code of Practice, as I said, easy for me to say. This sets the core criteria for building safety competence, including fire safety, structural safety and public health for all individuals working in the built environment to improve safety outcomes throughout the building life cycle. It will support progressive development of a more consistent approach in the development and use of competency framework across the industry. So Scott Steedman, who's the Director General of Standards at BSI, said, Dame Judith Hackett's report, Building a Safer Future, called on industry to change its culture to support the delivery of building so that it is safe both now and in the future. The new Code of Practice, published as part of BSI's Built Environment Competency Programme, provides an agreed common approach for industry to embed building safety competence at all levels and across all roles, functions, tasks and activities. This is a major step forward, which has the potential to support real change in industry understanding of building safety in the years and decades ahead. So in addition to this, the Building Safety Minister, Lord Greenhalgh, said, we're making the biggest changes to the building safety in a generation. This new criteria, funded by the government, will set a new standard for professionals across the sector and will underpin our wider reforms to ensure that new homes are designed, built and managed more safely in the future. I urge all sectors in the industry to adopt this. So actually, it's worth noting that this has been published as one part of the government-funded Built Environment Competency Programme, as we outlined above. It's been developed by an advisory group of built environment professionals. So, this seems like really welcome news. I think, the things I'd say on it is people have the right to expect their buildings and their immediate environment are designed, built and maintained in a way that's safe. I think that's pretty obvious to say, isn't it? And this goes a long way to moving forwards on that front. Occupants need to have confidence and trust in people who are responsible for ensuring that their interests are properly considered and that safety is a priority. So I think I finish off with this by saying that the competency of all who provide these services and products throughout the life cycle of the building is key to achieving this. So it's good to see that the BSI did 2 consultations to the public on this, got the feedback, and as we've said before on this podcast, things are moving forward in terms of legislative changes in the built environment. We've also just seen the fire safety bill get royal assent. And if you want to find out more about that, we've covered that in depth on our sister podcast, which I host with Brian Sims, who's the editor of Fire Safety Matters. If you've never heard that podcast, however you get your podcasts, YouTube, your iPhone, wherever you would normally go, just type Fire Safety Matters and you'll see the Fire Safety Matters podcast. And actually we had the first ever interview in the sector from the new building safety regulator, Peter, who's heading that up, Peter Baker, which is obviously part of the health and safety executive. So yeah, go back and listen to that episode. I'd suggest you want to learn more on that topic. So moving on to our next news story, if we can, for a moment. And we can, because I'm running the show on this one. So this one talks about the older generation being more anxious about returning to work. So a new survey has revealed a huge gap in how safe different generations feel about going back to the offices and places of work as the government's coronavirus roadmap progresses. As we all know, we are allegedly moving towards the 21st of June with restrictions being lifted, but I think a lot of us are suspecting that final lifting of the final restrictions possibly will be delayed, but we are still moving forward towards it. So this study by Airdrie, which is a manufacturing firm, interviewed 2,000 people. And Airdrie are the makers of Sterispace, and this survey revealed that just 16% of under 24s are worried about picking up germs from colleagues in communal areas returning to work, compared to 43% of over 25. COVID-19 was chosen as the main concern about office working for 33% of those aged 45 to 54, and 39% of over 55s. While those in younger age groups are more likely to be anxious about performance-related issues such as not being up to the challenge, that's 21% of the respondents said that, or stress, 26% of the younger people who took part of this was their main concern. The majority of people in all age groups, apart from those aged 18 to 24, agreed that they would feel less concerned about returning to the office if they knew that the company's products and policies for infection control. Just 37% of the younger age group agreed policies and products would make them feel safer, compared with over 50% in all the other age brackets. This rose to 72% in over 55s. So the study also uncovered variations in attitude towards virtual meetings versus face-to-face communications, with 32% of under 24s not looking forward to face-to-face meetings versus just 20% in the 45 and over category. So Steve Whittle, Group Director of Research and Development Operations at Airdrie, said, with the government's roadmap out of coronavirus so far progressing according to plan, many people's thoughts are turning towards when they may make return in working to a communal office or building. What our research shows is there's a big gap in, and this is worrying, between the younger age groups compared with the older generations. Some of the figures were surprising, given that it's the older generation groups that would have been fully vaccinated by the time the government removes the direction to work from home. Yet with the news of variants hitting the headlines and the fact that COVID-19 statistically affects older generations more seriously, it's perhaps understandable. So, as we said, Airdrie surveyed over 2,000 working British adults, and this data has been weighed to be representative of the British adult population as a whole. So, some interesting statistics there. I mean, it's something that we have to think about here at our company with people returning to work. I think I've said on this podcast before, a lot of our staff have wanted to come back in the office and have started to come back into the office. And we've had to take steps, risk assessments, as you'd expect, to try and make it COVID secure. I mean, we work in a very face-to-face environment in journalism and media sales. And I know our staff miss being out on the road. And, that isn't happening at the moment. We miss going to events like the health and safety event, which, we're looking forward to doing in September. But it's not necessarily how everybody feels in this situation, and you can certainly understand why older generations would be more anxious about this, because I think the quote there that I read to you from Steve is quite pertinent. COVID-19 does seem to affect, and this is statistically true, older generations more in more serious ways than younger generations, and of course you've got to mitigate that by saying people with underlying health issues at any age are severely at risk through this terrible disease. But I can understand why elder workers, and you've got to be careful when you say what counts as elderly workers, but I can understand the reticence to come back to the workplace and that. But equally, there's a mental health aspect to this too. So we've got a broad mixture of people that work for us here. We've got 24 employees and young, all the way through to over 60s. And it's something you have to take into account for sure. But I think all we can do at this point as we follow the government roadmap is follow the guidance and also be understanding of employees' needs. If they don't feel safe coming back in, and we have got a couple of staff of an age group or underlying health issues that don't want to actively come back to the office right now. And I think you have to respect that. And I think that's something you have to take on board, because it's health is the most important thing. I've said on this podcast many a time that everyone has the right to come home from work safe. That is a right, in my opinion. It's a slogan that the HSE used to do with agricultural safety campaigns in the past. And I completely agree with it and believe in it. So yeah, it's an interesting survey. I don't think it throws up too many surprises necessarily, but I thought I'd share that with you. Now, one thing I do really want to share with you was a massive success that happened. I don't know if you're aware, and I know many of you are, that Health and Safety Matters magazine partnered with the Health and Safety Executive and NEBOSH for a recent webinar, and it just blew away all numbers of engagement that anyone's seen in the sector. And I'm truly grateful to any of you that took the time to watch that free webinar. If you haven't seen it, you must go out of your way to see it. It's available on demand. So this was a webinar we did in May with the Health and Safety Executive on risk management, and it was expertly chaired by Matt Birtles, who's the Principal Ergonomic and Human Factors Consultant at the HSC, and it covered a number of topics to do with risk management. There was the principles of risk management, and this topic was talked about by Kim Ross, who's a HSC inspector. And she went through reasons for managing health and safety risks, straightforward steps organisations should take to effectively manage risks, and the importance of taking ongoing action to monitor and manage these identified risks. It then moved on to a common sense approach to risk management, which was delivered by Ron Macbeth, who's the risk assessment technical lead of the Health and Safety Executive. And then we had another HSC inspector talk about an inspector's experience. That was Nick Rigby, and he gave an insight into what inspectors look for when visiting a site and gives some examples of good and bad practice that he's seen. Then we moved on to Matt Powell-Howard, who's the head of learning and partnerships of NEBOSH, and Matt talked about how the risk management principles have been used in the development and the training course and an app that NEBOSH have got. So, and this is a new NEBOSH and HSE award in risk management and risk assessment at work, and obviously the new HSE SME mobile app. Then there was an extensive Q&A. I mean, when I say this was record-breaking for engagement, I'm not making this up. We had over 12,000 people register for this. We had over 6,000 people live. We've had over 1,500 people watch it on demand in the couple of weeks since we've done this. We had 1,100 questions. You talk about engagement, that shows it. That shows the passion that you all have for this sector. And I think the reason this was such a big success was you don't normally just get easy access to a HSE inspector, and we gave you access to two, Kim and Nick. And it was a fantastic session. I mean, I really enjoyed it. We are doing a write-up in the magazine of it, and I have no doubt that we're in the process of going through those 1,100 questions with HSE and NEBOSH, and we're going to publish answers to all of them. That's HSE's commitment to this. It was something that we really, really enjoyed doing, and the feedback we have has been overwhelming. So I would urge you to, if you haven't heard this, please do go and watch it. It's free. You get CPD for watching it. All you need to do is go to our website, which is www.hsmsearch.com, and click on the webinars tab on the main navigation at the top. So hsmsearch.com and click on the webinars tab. And just go down to the HSE risk management webinar. You can watch it on demand for free. Do share it with your colleagues. I mean, this is not easy to get information that's freely available, so it's well worth you taking the time to do it. So there's one other thing I want to go on as a final news story. Similar in a sense. We had a very successful PPE digital conference with the British Safety Industry Federation, another key partner of ours, and it was brilliant. It went through everything you could want to cover from PPE, from our HSS scheme, and congratulations, I should say, to the British Safety Industry Federation for being shortlisted for an industry award for that scheme. It's a fantastic scheme and thoroughly deserved its shortlisting. And I talked about UKCA, but also it finally, this digital conference, played host to the Safety and Health Excellence Awards 2020. I do mean 2020. we delayed those physical awards 3 times because of COVID. It was meant to be in April 2020. Then it was meant to be in November. Then it was meant to be April this year. In the end, the shortlisted people, and there's over 100 shortlisted entries, it was bang on 100, I think, of over 200 entries that entered. The highest quality of entries we have ever seen, and the most amount of entries I say we've ever seen in that. And it was unfair to make the shortlisted companies wait any longer, so we delivered it. And it was a great couple of hours with comedy that we had there from Alison McGowan, the Impressionist, who actually tailored a comedy set straight to the health and safety audience. Now, you can watch these awards on demand if you want. You can absolutely watch it. And the BSAF PPE conference you can watch on demand. Again, all you need to do is go to hsmsearch.com and click on the webinars tab and you'll find it. But I want to take this time to pay credit where credit is due, to be quite frank, and just go over the winners that were there. So the winners were as follows. The BSAF Customer Service Award, the winner was Essential Skills. The highly commended entries were Martor and Concept Products, and the commended entry was Lyrico and Seaton. The BSAF Water Pollution Prevention Award, which was a new category, the winners was joint this year, actually. It was from Build Your Way River Canal Rescue and Loughborough University. The BSAF Product Innovation Award, long-standing awards, this one as well. It was won by Brilliant Ideas' Net Recovery System, and the highly commended entries were Kia Highways, Instaboom, and Design Reality Fit Check Technology. And the commended entry was Centurion, XIV Arc Screen, and Pansuit VeriSafe Voltage Assessor. The final BSIF category was a Safety Solutions Award, another long-standing award, and the winner was Hunter Apparel Solutions, and the highly commended was VPS UK Limited. The commended entries were Brilliant Ideas and Lyrico. So moving on to the non-BSIF categories, the Lifetime Achievement Award, the winner was Louise Ward. Louise is such a deserving winner of that. She's a columnist for HSM. She's been in the sector for a fair while now, for a relatively young lady, I'd say, Louise, if you're listening. And, you know, her passion for health and safety, it was a no-brainer for the judges to pick Lou, thoroughly deserved. And I really enjoyed her acceptance speech. We could see her cat in the left-hand side of the screen. First time we've had an animal on any of our, pet, on any of our broadcasts. So anyone that spotted that Easter egg, I certainly enjoyed it. So Health and Safety Manager of the Year Award was Sarah Broadbent was the winner of that from 3M Limited. The highly commended entry was Joanne Milnes from CBRE GWS. The commended entry was Simon Hayward of the Greener Gardening Company Limited. The Rising Star Award, the winner was Robert Jukes of Wax Lyrical Limited. The highly commended entry was Paul Bolton of M247. The commended entry was Sharon McGorry of Grand Union Housing Group. The Health and Safety Team of the Year, the winner of that was Hunter Safety Solutions. The highly commended entry was James Briggs Limited. The commended entry was Wren Kitchens. So only got a few more categories to go. The Best Health and Safety Manufacturing, the winner was H+H UK Limited. The highly commended entry was Ryobi UK Limited, and the commended entry was Siemens Mobility. The Best Health and Safety Project, the winner was Travis Perkins. The highly commended entry was Wakefield Council. The commended entry was the British Horse Society. Now, this next category is one that's very close to us, our hearts, is the Alan MacArthur Unsung Hero Award, which is done in honour of Alan MacArthur, who was a wonderful industry practitioner, worked for years and 3M as well, and he sadly passed away a few years back. And this award is done very much in his honour, and we only pick a winner for this, the judges, and the winner was Richard Abess from Siemens Mobility Rolling Stock. The Best Health and Safety in Construction category was won by Kia Highways. The highly commended entry was D Morgan PLC. The commended entry was ADT Workplace, and the Fire Innovation of the Year award winner was FirePro UK for FirePro Fire Suppression System. The highly commended entries, there was two of them actually, FFE FireRay 1 and Coltraco Ultrasonics, the Porter Level Touch, and the commended entry was Plumis Automis Smart Scan Hydra. The campaign of the year, the winner was Briggs Defence. The highly commended entry was GKN Aerospace. The commended entry was Bradford District Care NHS Foundation Trust. The Safe Logistics Awards, the winner for that was Britvic Soft Drinks, and the highly commended entries were Travis Perkins and also SEC Storage. So I'd like to congratulate all the winners, the highly commended entries and the commended entries, and also everybody that actually was shortlisted full stop. You know, it really was not an easy way to get shortlisted. It was the best shortlist we've ever produced, best entries we've ever had. So, yeah, huge thanks to all of you that also watched and attended the events. But actually, I'd like to take this time to thank our judges who volunteer their time for free. And we had such an esteemed panel of judges. You know, I can't pick the winners for for this. It's done by industry experts who are far more suitably placed than I to do it. We had Nicole Vasquez from Lone Worker Live. We had Ian Moore, the Chief Executive of the Fire Industry Association. We had Barry Wilkes, Director of Strategy at NEBOSH. Paul Fakely from the British Safety Council. We had Gary Fillets from RRC Training. And we had Ian Crellin from the BSIF. We also had, Graham Ferris from the Independent Fire Engineering Distribution Association as well. So, and also thank you to Kelly Rose, the HSM editor, and Simon Duddy, the editor of Handling and Storage Solutions magazine, who oversaw the processes for me. And, you know, those judges volunteered their time for free, and they did an unbelievable job, and I'm very grateful for them for donating their time. But we don't stand still here, and we've now actually opened the entries for the 2021 Safety and Health Excellence Awards. It's completely free to enter. We're going to be announcing the shortlist in September, so you've got until the end of August to enter. It's completely free. You've just heard all the categories in great detail. Please, please, please do enter. This is the perfect way to get your team, your product, your project, an individual, yourself, a supplier, whoever goes out of their way to really push forward safety standards to ensure either property protection or life safety or the protection of people. The job you do is absolutely key in keeping buildings and people safe. You know this, we talk about this a lot, and you deserve the recognition for it. So it doesn't take more than about 5 minutes to enter these awards, but it is a great way of getting recognition. Please do enter. All you need to do is go to, you can Google it if you want, the Safety and Health Excellence Awards, and you can enter for free in any of the categories. You can enter as many times as you want and into as many categories as you want. But if you want the direct web address, it's www.she-awards.com. she-awards.com. Or just Google, as I said, the Safety and Health Excellence Awards. So now I'm going to introduce our main guest for today's Health and Safety Matters podcast. This one was a particularly enjoyable interview for me. It's something a little bit different. I got to sit down with Mark Creighton. Now, Mark is the Business Development Manager at Peninsula UK, which are obviously employment, HR and health and safety expert consultants. Now, Mark is someone I've known for a while off and on because he's not your traditional health and safety professional, how he'd get in here. He's actually a former professional footballer, played for Oxford United, the club that I support and love dearly, and was part of Oxford United's promotion-winning side in 2010 at Wembley. So I had a great chat, as you're about to hear, with Mark, talking about his career, how he got into health and safety, the main challenges for the health and safety sector. And I think this is a really interesting interview because it's quite clear. You know, Mark owns his own businesses as well, which he'll talk about. His passion for health and safety really came through, and he's managed to relate that back to his career as a professional footballer. Now, I can tell you from watching Mark play many times, he was a no-nonsense centre defender, a brilliant player that wore his heart on his sleeve, and he's really taken that enthusiasm through into health and safety. So hopefully you'll enjoy this interview. I sure as hell enjoyed sitting down with Mark, and sit back and enjoy it. And now I'd like to introduce you to Mark Creighton from Peninsula UK. Morning, Mark. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, well, this is a real thrill for me today because I get to get some of my other interests outside of health and safety onto the podcast. As you know, I'm a massive football fan, a massive Oxford United fan, and you used to play for Oxford United. So this is a real thrill for me to get you on the podcast, talk about health and safety and football. So can you, at the moment, obviously you're at Peninsula, can you tell us a little bit more about what your current role there is?
Okay, so I'm currently a business development manager for Peninsula UK. So I work with SMEs up and down the country, supporting them with their employment law and health and safety for their businesses.
But as I was saying before that, you definitely weren't in health and safety. You were a professional footballer. So you tell us a bit about your career?
Well, you say I wasn't in health and safety, but actually, I was thinking about this earlier. I guess my early days of risk assessing started when I was assessing who I was playing against on a Saturday and seeing where the risk lay with that. But yeah, absolutely right. I was a professional footballer. I was lucky enough to play for one of the greatest clubs in the country, Oxford United. Nice smile on your face there. I can see that, and I mean it. I genuinely mean it. Fantastic football club. Fantastic memories of being a part of that. And a part of the team that was fairly successful when I was there. So yeah, that was my background. So very, very different to what I'm doing now.
And what other clubs did you play for in your career?
So I started. I didn't turn professional until I was 23 years old, and I joined the Peninsula Harriers. Having been, I was a builder playing part-time football. So I was a man of the world, and I liked to pint after a game, and taking the step up to professional elite level sort of kind of kiboshed that. But in all fairness, when I did do it, I never looked back. And so, yeah, I started at Kidderminster. Then Chris Wilder brought me to Oxford. And then Dean Saunders took me up to Wrexham, where I finished my career. And hence where I'm living now is North Wales in Wrexham. And
didn't you go into a bit of coaching after that originally?
I did, yeah. I retired from football through a serious knee injury that I tried to recover from, but ultimately failed. So yeah, the natural step then for me was I always felt like I was a fairly decent leader on the pitch. So I thought, try my hand at a bit of coaching. So I did that. I went through the Welsh system, did my UEFA licenses. And thoroughly enjoyed it. I really liked it. Went into the coaching side of things. Assistant manager at Kidderminster Harriers, then over to Wrexham as first team coach, and then kind of after that, I guess the best way of describing it is I fell out of love with football a little bit. Really, that wasn't my driver anymore. It didn't get me going. So I looked into other things. I already had my own business that I set up while I was still playing for Wrexham, which is a custom tattoo studio in North Wales. So I've had that 9 years now. So the football side of things for me, it kind of died off and it fizzled out. Did some great work with BT Sport as well as a media pundit, which actually I thoroughly love that, because that side of it was still fun. And it was great to go to different grounds and work with different people. So I did enjoy that side of it, but the coaching management side, it wasn't for me.
Now, before we come on to the career that you're doing now, what were the highs of your career? Because, I remember you very much as a tough tackling centre half, wore your heart on your sleeve, and you did a great job for Oxford. Of course, you were part of that promotion side back into the Football League in 2010, wasn't it, at Wembley? What was the highs of your football career, would you say?
I think that season in general was just epic. I was playing part-time football, yeah. Got a professional deal at Kidderminster Harriers where I was captain there, had three or four really good seasons there. But then when Chris Wilder took me to Oxford, that was almost like a huge pat on the back to me that I was going to such a big club, and a big club was so interested in me and keen to sign me. And I was one of the first summer signings, so I know I was heavily targeted by the club. And it started great. And it ended great. I scored on my debut at home to York in the last kick of the game, pretty much, and the ground erupted. And then from that moment onwards, we did pretty well, to be fair. And I guess to answer your question, though, the highlight was, of course, the end of the season, playoff final at Wembley Stadium. 37,000 yellow fans just took over Wembley. It was yellow, and yeah, it isn't just about the result at Wembley, which is obviously the key, and you all want to win at Wembley. But it's the way we did it, the way we played. I thought we were great value for the win on the day, and yeah, Clarkey did his best to try and spoil it at one point, but yeah, we stood firm, and I think the fans. They must have thoroughly enjoyed it because it was such a good day. Like I say, we played really well. Don't think we were ever in danger of losing that game from the minute we kicked off. So those are the most precious memories that nobody can ever take away from me. And then obviously followed that, the open top bus tour around the town where the same amount of people took to the streets. It was just it's incredible. And I'm such a humble guy, and I come from small backgrounds, and I was a builder, and to have these many people like shouting "beast" to me is just it brings like a lump in my throat now, just even thinking about those times. But like I say, they're memories that are special, and they'll never leave.
Me too. I think I was probably just as hungover as you during that open top bus parade, to be fair. I remember that day very, very well at Wembley. Phenomenally grateful to you as a football fan for what you did for my football club. And it's one of my favourite days out I've ever had, full stop anyway. It was a wonderful day out, and I loved it. And actually, funnily enough, I was laughing about this the other day. My LinkedIn profile picture is still a picture of you, me, and your teammate James Constable. So when you dropped me a line and said, "Oh yeah, I'm doing some health and safety stuff," I thought, "Oh, I've got to get Beast on the podcast. This will be good value." And it's a small world, and you said you've had a really interesting business career too. You've got your tattoo studio, and I want to talk more about now your current role. While we were off air before this, you were talking about, actually, you always feel like you've had a link to health and safety from what you've done and risk assessment. So can you tell us a bit more about what you currently do in your role?
Yeah, so my primarily role is to go out, meet with business owners, SMEs effectively, and try and support them in areas of compliance that they can't support themselves in. Now, again, this is an area where, and I think this resolutes with the clients I go and see, is that I am also a business owner. So I sit in their chair, and I know just how difficult it is or can be to comply with law, from employment law and health and safety. And I certainly didn't set up my business to become experts in either of those fields, because it's very, very complex. And unless you go and train in them, then you're probably not going to get it right. You can do your best and you can try, but ultimately, especially with things like COVID coming in, and the way that that's turned health and safety upside down effectively for all businesses and all sectors, it's actually really nice for me to be able to go out there and support these small businesses and actually put their policies, their risk assessments, their management system together for them, and then support them through that journey. Of course, nobody can do all of their health and safety for them, because health and safety is it's an ongoing risk. You need to continuously assess. So they are our eyes and ears, but we work in a way that we train them, we bring them up to speed as to where they need to be, put software systems in place so that they get periodic reminders, task reminders, so they never fall foul and never should really fall out of compliance. Of course, and I say never should, as long as they follow our guidance, then they can remain compliant. So it's kind of a buy-in from their part as well. It's not that we just come in and we've set all this up and say, there you go, you're safe. That's not how health and safety works, and I think we all know that. But what we do is we put the legalities in, and we know what they need to be compliant.
And how did you actually get into it? How did you start working with Peninsula?
So it's a funny one. I was back and forth to Los Angeles a few years ago, and then when I finally planted my feet back in England, and I was at a crossroads. I fell out of love with football. Well, it wasn't really a pathway I wanted to take. Yes, I had my own business, but I never really wanted to work in there. That's not why I set it up. I effectively set it up to be my personal pension, which is what it is to this day. So I just put a tweet out there. Moving back up to North Wales, I'm open to some suggestions as to what sector to go into next. Hit me up with some ideas, because I've got a fairly decent following on social media, so and a lot of good friends that follow me on there. So I knew that somebody would come back to me with something, and as it happens, it was Owen Clark, who you will probably know as well from the Oxford days, who was commercial manager at the club a few years back, and he reached out to me straight away and phoned me and said, "Mark, well, come and work for me at Peninsula." And I was like, "Well, you're gonna have to forgive me, Owen. I've known you a long time, but I have no idea what you do." And then obviously when he started filling me in on what the company does and how they operate and how they support, first and foremost, the penny dropped for me that I need to take these services, because these are areas that I'd always struggled with. And I actually didn't know that there was help and support out there. So straight away we had a little chat about me taking the services to support my business, which I still have to this day. But then obviously the interest grew with me because it's something I really believe in and I'm passionate about it. And I love supporting people and I love problem solving for people. And that's what effectively my job is. I go in there generally because they've got an issue. I go and solve that problem for them in one way, shape or form. So Owen got me in the door at Peninsula. Fortunately, I got offered the role and I cover North Wales, Mid Wales as a patch for where I can physically go out and see my clients. But effectively, I can speak to anybody up and down the country. So that's how I got into the company. And I think from the company's perspective, they like the fact that I am a business owner myself. So I can resonate and I can understand just how hard it is for SMEs to be compliant in these fields. And I think that was one of the drivers for Peninsula to get someone like me who hadn't got that background. Also, of course, they trained me up, so I now know a lot more than I first did when I first started. So yeah, I think that was the driver from their side of it, that I do sit in that chair too.
So our audience, health and safety matters audience, people that are listening to this now, but very diverse what they do. There's a lot of health and safety managers, there's a lot of risk assessors, consultants. As you could expect, they're people that are responsible for keeping people and property safe. So, but not all of them are going to know what Peninsula are and what Peninsula do. You've touched on it a bit right now, but can you tell us a bit more about what Peninsula offer?
Yeah, so effectively we're an outsourced consultancy. We're the largest in the UK. Currently 35,000 clients, and what we do from a health and safety perspective is we become the responsible person, so to speak. So we will go in there, we will audit the company, we will write their bespoke policy for them. We will any handbooks that are required, health and safety handbooks, drivers handbooks, contractor handbooks, e-learning training for the staff. Risk assessments we can do with them. We have a really fantastic software system which helps them manage their health and safety, and this is where I touched on it before about task management. And effectively what that does is when there's a task due, it will let the client know that there's a task to be completed. They will then complete the task, update the system, say it's been done. It automatically resets it for the next time it needs to be completed. So the way we create this is to make it as easy as possible for our clients to manage their health and safety, manage the risk within their business on a daily basis without them having to do too much work. Because that's what small business owners don't have. They don't have the time and they generally don't have the expertise to put this in themselves.
Do you think that's what sets Peninsula apart from other people who offer similar services, that you just make it simple for the clients? Is there anything else? Is that what it is that sets you apart, or is it other things that set you apart?
No, I think it's a combination of everything. The minds that we have within Peninsula are phenomenal. All different backgrounds that have worked in health and safety all of their lives. We have the man and woman power to go out there and physically visit the clients as many times as they need us to visit. I think it's the fact that our attention to detail and what our sole focus is to keep them compliant, but to do it in a way that, I've already said it, we can't do everything for them. That's impossible. They have to do some themselves, but we set it up in the way that it's so simple for them to remain compliant, and it's at the least effort to them possible, because they don't have the time to complete these on their general day-to-day tasks. So the smallest amount that they have to do is generally always best.
So if people want to get in touch with you or find out more about how they can work with Peninsula, what's the easiest way to do that, Mark?
I would just encourage you to pick up the phone. Give me a call, 07971 253 888. Happy to come and visit you if you're close enough. We'll have a coffee, we'll have a sit down, we'll have a chat, run through what you've currently got in place, highlight some areas where you maybe need to put some more in place. But effectively, I can provide a form of an audit for you. And again, completely complimentary, and there's no obligation to take our services. What it kind of does and what it will give you is just a gap analysis, really, of where you're currently sitting with your health and safety within the business. So that's what the best way to get hold of me is just to give me a call, have a chat. I'm a friendly guy. Hopefully that comes across, in this podcast. Even if you've got the smallest question, you just want to ask a simple question, phone me up, ask me. Got no problem with that at all.
And I think if I'm right in saying, that the website's the Peninsula Group Limited.com, isn't it? Is the website, I think, for you guys. And you, as you said, are pretty active on social media, so I'm sure people could also get in touch with you via Twitter and LinkedIn if needed.
Absolutely, yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, just search me out. I'm on there. And I look forward to speaking to you.
Well, it was a real pleasure for me to catch up with you again. It's a long time no see. Thrilled that you've landed on your feet in health and safety. Glad that you enjoyed it. You're clearly passionate about it, just as passionate as you were when a player on the pitch. And as a football fan, as I said, it was a pleasure to watch you play. It was thrilled that you played for our football club, and I'm glad that we did this. And hopefully we can do it again soon.
Absolutely, no, it's a pleasure, and thank you for getting me on. And let's keep in touch and let's do some more.
And that's all we've got time for in this edition of the Health and Safety Matters podcast. Thank you for joining me today. You can go back and listen to our back archive of podcasts, or however you get your podcast. Just type Health and Safety Matters. If you aren't already subscribing to Health and Safety Matters, you can get the magazine for free in print or digital format. Please go to our website, hsmsearch.com. You can also sign up to our twice-a-week e-newsletter. And the website just has a plethora of information, all the latest news, prosecutions, products and services from the industry. It's also got a huge archive of our CPD webinars. So all you need to do is go to www.hsmsearch.com. Thank you again to our sponsors of this edition of the Health and Safety Matters podcast, which is the Health and Safety event. And you can attend the Health and Safety event at the NEC in Birmingham on the 7th to 9th of September 2021. It's completely free to attend. And all you need to do is go to www.healthandsafetyevents.com. So we'll be back in a month's time with the next edition of the podcast. But until then, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Health and Safety Matters podcast.